Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning, and welcome to, or not morning, evening. The fuck am I doing? It's 5:30 at night. And welcome to Exploring Hyperspace Lanes. I'm Adam, and I'm tired, as you can tell. It's been a very rough day. You ever have, I don't know if there's something that happens to other people. I had a toothache all day, and it just, it hurt like a son of a bitch. And then it just kept throbbing and throbbing and throbbing. And I would drink water, and it would go away for a little bit. And then it would come right back, and this constant just throbbing and throbbing, and here I am, and then I stopped drinking water, and now I'm fine, and it's a little weird, and we'll see how this continues in the coming weeks, because they're luxury bones that aren't covered by your regular health insurance teeth. They don't tell you that. But regardless, the point is, and someone at work told me, it's just take a bunch of Advil. And I'm like, no, that'll cause an ulcer. And she said, well, the ulcer will be cheaper to fix than the teeth. And I was like, oh, well, you're not wrong. Well, regardless, the point is, we are now 12 weeks out from Andor, the new show returning show on Disney Plus that continues the adventures of Cassian Andor in the lead up to the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Arguably, one of the top things created by Disney of their Star Wars stuff. And I would say it's top 5. I wouldn't say it's number 1, but I would say it's definitely top 5. And what we have is we're going to go through and we're going to rewatch all the episodes as we go through. We do this on 30-minute reviews sometimes when my car is working and when I'm not sick. And we would have done it with Spider-Man. We started with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but then my car fucked up, and now here we are, leading into Captain America. And we're here to talk about, We're here to talk about Andor, to refresh ourselves, to make sure we're on the same page. And it's one of those things where it's like, I hold Andor in such high regard, compared to everything that they've done in the Disney era. And I look at this and I'm like, this is such a well-made show that it's like, and I think a lot of what it is that kind of gives me that is there's that period toward the end. Once you reach the prison, is when the show is like, you transcend from the beginning. It's very clearly, this is some of the best Star Wars that we can offer. But by the time you reach the episode where you're on the prison, it's like, oh, this is some of the best television that has been produced on Disney Plus, and that's kind of where I am on this. And I remember thinking at the beginning, like, oh, this show starts slowly. I remember thinking that early on. And then watching this episode, I'm kind of like, I think it comes from a need to recalibrate how you watch, because, like, I think coming off of Skeleton Crew, it makes this show kind of abundantly clear what it is about this show that makes it so different and works so well. It's a TV show. It's not a movie cut up into 6 episodes, or 12 episodes in this case. It's literally a TV show, where it's like, it's paced like a TV show. It's treated like a TV show. It's not a movie with a super long cut. Like, and I think that's what makes this show work, and why this is the best of the Disney Plus shows. You don't feel like you are, you know, you're on these tangents that are just like, why am I here? What are we doing here? What's the point of this? Like, you don't get that here. Like, it's concise yet full, where it's like this idea that, like, we're very quickly introduced to Andor, who is looking for his sister on this planet, and she's in a brothel, and it's like, and that's where he's looking for her. He's looking for her in a brothel, and it's like, it's this great moment where it's just like, he's there, there are these 2 guys there who are annoying him, and this moment where they go outside, and these 2 guys who are security officers are hustling them, and they're exploiting their power, and it's this fight, and it opens with a murder. You're introduced to Andor, and he just straight up murders these 2 guys. Like, one was an accident. Like, okay, you threw him off you, he hit his head and he died. Okay, sure. But the second guy, that's just straight up homicide. That is not, you know, that's just murder. And I think they handle that all so well. And then to get you, the minute that ends, you go back to Ferrex, and it's just this thing with him trying to come up with a way to get away with this murder. Like, he literally just killed someone. He's like, okay, I need an alibi. Okay, I need to figure out who is going to, like, you know, who's going to vouch for me and do that. I need to get money so I can get off planet. I need to cover my tracks so people don't figure out where I was. And it's just this great, you know, way of just looking at what this world is, where it's the reason it works is because the pace is kept up, and you don't really see that there's no one chasing him, but he thinks that they're going to be on his tail pretty quickly, so he's treating it like it is, and it's this you know, this breakneck pace of that. And then we get these moments where we go back to Cyril, who is just this guy who works for security. And he's like, these 2 guys were murdered, and we gotta figure out what happened to them. So he's trying to do more of an investigation in the Empire. It's like the Empire, or not the Empire, the corporation who owns the area. And this show, let's just say it, is aging terrifyingly well in the last few weeks. This corporation who owns this sector is kind of like, you know, well, these 2 guys died, but, like, yeah, they were drinking, which they shouldn't be allowed to do. They were off planet where they weren't supposed to be. They were at a brothel, which is definitely illegal. Like, they were doing all this stuff. So, like, let's just say we'll brush it under the rug. It was an accident. Let's not look too deeply into this. And Cyril is like, no, we are going to... It's Cyril Karn's the guy's name, I think, if I remember correctly. But either way, he's like, you know, we're going to look into this deeply. Like, this is, you know, these were 2 guys who work for the corporation who died. It's this guy who, like, I think that's a train going by. To an extent, he thinks that he knows he's a bit of a cog in the machine, but he doesn't want to be that. He's not there to be a cog in the machine. He wants to be more. And I think that's kind of what the show really, like, creates for him. It's he wants to, you know, by showing him, but not at the same time, it's not romanticizing him or making him, you know, out to be something bigger than he is, or being like, oh, he's an anti-hero or something like that. It's like, no, it's like, you understand what he's doing. He's still a member of the Empire, and he's still willing to do whatever it takes to maintain the systems of oppression. And that's something that's really interesting for that character. I don't remember if the flashbacks amount to anything. I don't remember his sister making an appearance later on in the show. But it's this idea that, like, he, you know, his sister is, you know, is kind of his driving thing here. And we get flashbacks to his time on his home planet. I don't remember if that amounts to anything. which is the only real complaint I have about this episode, and that maybe it does come back and I just don't remember it. But like I said, it's like when I remember this show fondly, when I think back on it, it's all Narcana 5. That's like everything from that arc on is what I'm like, this is fantastic. Because then even that, and the finale is just hands down one of my favorite episodes of that show. Like the best episode is there are like 3 or 4 episodes. I remember when we did the year in review and we crowned the episode of the year, which we do every year over on 30-minute reviews. The episode of the year was... Oh, fuck, I forgot to do it this year. I totally forgot about that. I forgot to talk about that. Maybe we'll do a correction. The episode... That year was so tough, not because it was like... Because it came down to... And this ages poorly a little bit, I think, with the recent allegations against Neil Gaiman. It came down to 2 episodes of Sandman, where it was... Calliope Dream of a Thousand Cats was one, and then the other episode was... On Death's Wings, or whatever the episode was. The episode with Death was the other one where I was like, either of these those episodes could be it. But there are 3 episodes of Andor that are better than it. And it's like, and that was the thing where it's like, I had no confidence in Andor going into it. And then for it to be like, 3 episodes here are the best episode of television this year. Like that, like that whole, like, when we get to the end and we get to Nobody's Listening, and then One Way Out, and then Rick's Road, it's all kind of just there. And all of those worked so well for this show that it's like, when I think back, that's what I think about with this. So a lot of what happened in the beginning is kind of forgotten, except for the conversation with the freedom fighter the rebellion guy he meets early on in the heist of the Imperial planet. That moment is the one where, like, with him, what he says, which we'll get to, I think it's like episode 4 or 5, he says something like, the natural state of the galaxy is freedom. Tyranny requires constant effort because it's not natural, and it's easy to create cracks in the foundation. Like, that is something where it's like, that is, that's great. And that's one of the real strengths of this show, and we haven't gotten to it yet. But there are so many episodes where there are just monologues that are just fantastic. And it's like, I'm actively listening to a monologue, and it's not annoying. It's like the one with Stellan Skarsgård, I forgot his character's name, talking to the Imperial informant. And he's like, the informant's like, no, you have to call them off. Because if you don't call them off, then you're leading them directly into a trap, and they are going to end up all being killed. And he goes, yeah, I'm aware of that. We're sending them into a trap. But to call them off would tell the Empire how small our numbers are. If they know that we know that it's a trap, if they think that we're going to do that, we're going to send them in anyway, it tells them that our numbers are way bigger, that we're willing to lose that many people in one fell swoop. Like, there are so many things like that in this show, and it's like, this is the Star Wars show. And I think episode 1 too, it's like, the way they introduce all the characters and kind of get all the pieces in place is so well done, because it's like, that's one of the things that we've talked about over on Beware of Spoilers. The economy of storytelling is something I like to talk about. The idea that no second of screen time should be wasted. The idea that we should be, anything we're doing should be furthering either the narrative or furthering character development. If you're not doing that, then what are you doing? And to that end, the first episode having that moment where, we were introduced to Bix, like, immediately you're brought right into who this character is and what her deal is. And there's no second guessing, there's no figuring out what's it called is, there's no figuring out what the what she's about. It's just straight through, like, oh, so she is a mechanic, she knows a lot about this, she also has an in with smugglers, and she knows people who can help him, flip things that are the Empire doesn't want in Rebel hands, and all of that immediately clicks who this character is for you. You do not have to question what's going on any further than that. Like we have it. We have it all understood. And I think it's great storytelling, and it leaves you in a position where it's like we are doing way more. Like you're doing so much with little screen time that it leaves you in a place where you're not feeling shortchanged by the story. What else have we got that I wanted to address with this? Yeah, and I think that, like, the whole thing is just like it feels Star Wars, but at the same time doesn't. And I think that it does it in a better way than Skeleton Crew did. Like we just talked about it with Skeleton Crew, the idea that it feels anachronistic. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like, you know, a spec script for a pirate movie with kids that Lucasfilm acquired. And it's like, okay, can we reskin this with Star Wars characters? That's kind of how it feels there. Here you don't have that. Here it feels like this is a different universe of Star Wars, but still profoundly the same thing. And that is very important if you're going to build out this kind of world. It's imperative that you make it feel like what everything else is. It's very well done in that regard. What else have we got that I wanted to address with this? I feel like there was more. Like that's the thing, is that it feels almost Blade Runner at times in the kind of cyberpunk aesthetic, especially the first world you go to. When you get back to Ferrix feels kind of more grounded Star Wars. Like, if you told me this was just like an area of Tatooine that it rained at some point in the last 6 months, like, I'd be like, okay, I buy that. It feels Star Wars, but at the same time, it's like the entire thing feels very, not alien, but just new and different. And that's, I think, what makes this show really work, is that it is taking what we know and it's telling a story at the same time. And a universally applicable story at that. It's not just we're telling a story just because. It is a story that kind of fits no matter what you're trying to do. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up with episode 1. I could have swore Stellan Skarsgård was in the first episode, but I think maybe he's episode 2 or episode 3. I don't quite remember 100%. Like I said, my memories of the show aren't, I don't want to say 100% accurate. I want to say that, like, they're weighted toward the back half of the show. I think that's kind of where I'm stuck right now with remembering what everything was. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be next week. We'll be talking about Andor episode 2. I believe Josie will be back next week, so we'll be talking about our predictions from last year, making predictions for the next 11 months. But we'll wrap up there for today, and until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.